Here we go. We are live, or at least we should be live. There it is. Now we're live. Okay. Let me get my pattern in a place where I can see it here. All right. So we're doing a sampler here, kind of a test of what we're going to do at MIT. And I have the dome kind of begun here. And now I need to do basically a long line across the underside of this. And we're going to start just one square to the left of it. Right there. So a lot of this is going to be just kind of figuring out what settings work on cameras, and then just for the physical setup of the space itself. Most of my cross stitching I do recreationally is like sitting on a couch with a laptop on my lap, so this is a different environment with different constraints, and I just need to figure it out. So one thing I'm realizing is that I can't, this mat here that you see here is really dark, and I can't see through the fabric because I'm using a dark fabric. So if I was using a light fabric, I would need a dark mat. But since I'm using a dark fabric, this mat is just not doing it for me. So let's roll that up here. There. There you can see how that works. Now you can actually even see through the fabric here. And that's what I need, because when I hold it up like this, I need to be able to see through the holes so that I know where to put the needle. And there it is, right there. These first couple always take a little bit longer because you're trying to capture the thread or the floss. How's that? So this is perfect for me right now. I can see exactly what I need. That's not bad in terms of what's on camera and what's not on camera. Okay, trim this off here. I've captured it under 2 stitches so far, but this third stitch, which I usually like to capture the tail under 3 stitches, but you cut it just a little long so that you can capture it under this third one. Yep, now you're just cranking along. So because I'm just going straight across, you can see if you check out the pattern here. Let's zoom out. Let's zoom out even more. I'm going straight across. So I've started 1 square before the dome, and I'm going to go 1 square after the dome. This is not particularly complicated cross stitching. So I'm going to start trying to practice on not flipping the canvas over. My normal modus operandi is to just constantly be moving this hoop around, flipping it back and forth and back and forth. And I will do that when I am stitching in and among pre-existing stitches. But if I am just doing a straight line across, there is very little risk of messing up the back of this, which is usually why I will flip it back and forth, is so that I can keep the back clean. And I see a lot of people do that just for everything. They'll just stitch everything blindly from the back, which is how you end up with really, really gross and ugly like backs of the cross stitches. But let's see, do I need to be over? The camera's a little. Let's see if I can fix that. My face is not where I want my face. So humor me just for a half second. Let's get this guy here. We're gonna just center me up a little. Oh goodness, ran away from me there a little bit. There, a little more centered, right? Yeah, maybe. No, not really. Let's get me totally centered, and then I'll just expand my sides there. How's that? That's better. Feel a little more centered now. Okay. So the downside to stitching blindly through the back like this is that I have almost no experience with it. So while I'm sure it would be faster for someone who does this all the time, it might actually be slower for me, but this is a good opportunity to practice, develop a new skill. And so kind of what I'm doing is I'm looking through the fabric and looking for the needle to block the hole, while also feeling with the needle. Because when you drag the needle across the fabric, you can feel it click along the holes. And I doubt you're going to be able to hear that on the microphone. It's kind of an in-person thing. Okay. And then on the front, I accidentally did some damage on the back here. So I'm going to just try to clean this up. What happened here? There we go. Okay. Continuing on. The other thing about these kind of dry run dress rehearsal things is I'm always changing my live stream setup. The pattern is always in a different place and a different size, and I really just am kind of inconsistent with the overall look and feel. So you'll see I have a new camera now in the bottom left. This guy here. Hello. I handed that just for fun. I don't know if that really, meaningfully contributes to the overall experience, but I like it. Kind of gives a little extra perspective, I guess. I don't know. But I really, with the so there's 4 basic like windows that I need on this. I need the main overhead, and I always have kind of considered that the primary view. Although I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't know who prefers what. I wonder if during this I can just make this, hold on. Let's go a little crazy here. Can I edit this on the fly? All right. So did I just make the stream? I suspect I just made the stream live and public, which is terrifying, but that's okay. Fortunately, I have like almost nobody subscribed to this channel, so it doesn't matter that it's public because nobody will watch it. But yeah, so part of why I'm doing these little trial runs and practice runs is because I need feedback and opinions. Oh goodness, just made a big old mess of that, didn't I? Hold on, what's going on? Came up between between a loop on the back. It pulled all the way through. There it is. Okay. Need feedback on screen layout. I need feedback on audio quality. I need feedback on just video quality, layout, pacing, the experience of streaming on YouTube versus other things. I'm reasonably set on YouTube, but could be convinced to go elsewhere. It's just that I'm old and I understand YouTube. I don't understand other things. I could learn, I guess. Seems like a lot of work. So another thing I'm considering, so right now this is an overhead camera. It's like pointed straight down. But if you notice, the hoop that I'm holding is always at kind of an angle. So I've considered like potentially taking that overhead camera and kind of angling it down. I just don't know if I have like the appropriate hardware for that. Wow, that light really is right there, isn't it? That's bright. I wonder if I can get away without having the light on that camera. It's fine from a distance, but when you get right up close, it really kind of washes it out. The other thing I guess I'm looking for is how choppy is the video, how high quality is the video. Like, I have a reasonably good internet connection right now, and the stream health says it's good, but um, I'm using a laptop to stream this, and it does have a dedicated graphics card, but it's, not a tower PC, so I'm curious to see just how well it handles 3 video streams. None of them are at 4K. They're all running at 1080, but still, 3 of those on a laptop. It seems like it's okay. So I'm going to work my way all the way over. Man, I am terrible at stitching through the back. There it is. Work my way all the way over and then come back. So when you cross stitch, if you're just doing like big color fills or lines or something like that, well, in almost every case, I'm sure there are exceptions, but in almost every case, you do half stitches, meaning like forward slashes, and then you come back over those to complete the cross. Uh-oh. Sometimes, like whenever I pull the floss, there's a certain amount of length or distance that I'm expecting when I pull through, and if I pull through and it stops early, I know that something has happened on the back here. And usually all that is, you'll see it's really common. Oh, come on. You can see how there's like a little loop with a knot. And that little loop with a knot, it's not actually a knot. You just pull the loop, and then it's almost like it's a slip knot, and then it just pulls right out. Like this. It's gone. So that comes because whenever you're stitching, unless you are incredibly attentive, much more attentive than me, you are biasing the string as you stitch. So each time you pass it through, because you are right-handed, you are putting just a hair of a twist on the needle, right? So I've just pulled the needle through, and then when I flip it around in my hand to put it through again, there's no way that I have flipped it around in my hand so diligently that I didn't put a little twist in it. And all those little twists add up so that when you pull the string through, it kind of wants to coil up like a yo-yo. And you just need to, sometimes it creates those little knots. So those little knots, fortunately, they're not real knots. They're just kind of fake knots, I guess. But you pull those out, and then I usually use that opportunity to untwist the floss. The other reason I'm doing these streams is because I have committed to live streaming for like 3 days straight, which seems a little insane to me because I don't know if I'm physically cut out for that, both due to sleep and then just like that's a lot of time just sitting and holding this hoop. Like if you look at this hand here, it's like clamped like at a really awkward grabbing angle. And I think I might just lose that hand if I see how I did that. I just naturally flipped it over. That's how I normally do it. So let's do a little bit of that just to see how the video looks. Well, it's not bad. Maybe gets a little seasick, and it's probably not good for time lapse, right? Like the cool thing about staying on the front is you can kind of keep this hoop exactly where it is. And then you can play the footage back and get a pretty sweet little time lapse, but not for me, because I am constantly just flipping it around. And I didn't think, God, I don't normally stitch on dark fabric, so I was so excited for that desktop mat because it was going to this really nice, smooth, soft background surface. See, because like this white, it's okay, but it can reflect a little. Um, but with the dark fabric, I need that brightness shining through so I can see what I'm doing. Like I said earlier, normally I'm sitting on a couch with a laptop screen in front of me because I always keep my patterns. That's one of my tricks, one of my secrets is that see this pattern here? I will never ever 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 stitch or cross stitch using a paper pattern. I just can't. It's just not the way. It is not the way. For a couple of reasons. The first is that I use the backlighting from my screen to shine through the fabric, and I rely on that to help me see through the holes. The second is that when it's in the software, you can lasso around things to quickly count how far away different things are, because it's all about relative positioning of these stitches. So you're counting a certain distance up and over and around, and in the software here, I get this lasso, and you can see I'm like dragging around. And then up here it tells me, you know, my width and tells me my length and my width, and then my relative positioning of what I've just done. And that is beyond helpful when stitching. And I'm not like having to hold rulers up to a piece of paper and all that. Like if you go online and look for cross-stitching accessories, half of them are tools that make it easier to like read paper patterns. And I completely eliminate all that. Even when I buy patterns, like PDF patterns or something, the very first thing I do is convert them all to into my software by hand. I like hand recreate them so that I can use them in the software. Okay, so I've gotten to the end of that run there, and now I'm actually going to go down. I think I'm going to do like a box. So I don't know yet if I want to do like just this box here, like come down this way, or try to do the outline of the whole dome. And I have 4 stitches with which to come up with a path there. It's kind of like when you are at a restaurant. You say, I'll know what I want to do by the time they're done ordering, and then they know exactly what they want, and they order in like 2 seconds, and that's, you know, it's like, well, 2 seconds was not quite as much as I was hoping for. But so with that, I've done the 3 stitches down, and now I have to decide. I guess technically I could do 4. So now I have to decide, do I go left or right? I think I'll go left. I'll do it in sections. Sections that kind of look complete, you know? Because if I were to go to the right, I wouldn't necessarily be able to finish in one sitting or something, and it would look more incomplete. But if I stitch smaller modular chunks of this, it will look more complete more often. Really, that's a lot of talking to basically say I decided to go left instead of right. I don't know if it actually matters that much, but I I I enjoy cross stitching because I enjoy overanalyzing cross stitching. I'll bet you the audio is atrocious when I'll bet you that sucks. Maybe I should buy a white desk pad. Or just learn to not clump my hoop on the desk. It's another one. So these headphones, I always see people streaming with headphones on. I see them podcasting with headphones on. And I'm sure that they're using them as like monitors, you know, to like monitor their levels and make sure everything's okay. For video gaming, obviously they're listening to the sounds from inside the game. Me, I am just listening to music. That's my I look more professional and fancier with the headphones on, even though they're not like those crazy big over-the-ear gaming headphones. They're just on-ear Bose headphones. But I look fancy and I look professional. Oh, here. All right, so watch this. Watch the floss here, okay? When I give it slack, it twisted up. So what I'm gonna do normally, I just hold the cross stitch up in the air and I let the needle spin around. And then when it's done, I'm ready to keep going because then I got the bias out of that floss. Maybe that's just a me issue. Like, here's the deal. I have never I have never met somebody other than me who cross stitches. I'm the only person I know that I haven't taught, right? So my wife cross stitches, but I taught her how to. And so but I've never really met anyone in real life independent who taught themselves or was taught independently how to cross stitch. And so all these little problems and idiosyncrasies, idiosyncrasies. It's idiosyncrasies that I have no way of knowing if those are like global cross stitch things or if it's just Snively cross stitch things. It doesn't matter really. It's all if it's just me, it's I am always the one cross stitching my stuff, so I wonder how obnoxious that slowly scrolling banner across the top is. At least it's not blinking, right? So kind of the thought there is that I can change it up. So like if I got a stream deck over here on my left with a bunch of buttons and things, and I was thinking that I could program it to change that banner to say things like, I'm thirsty and need coffee, bring me coffee, or things like that. That will only obviously be relevant if I'm in an area where there are other people or if anyone's watching this stream. Because right now I have exactly 0 people watching the stream, which is cool because it means I can say whatever I want. I can say anything I want. Not that I have anything particularly uh, exciting or scandalous to say, nor would I expect do most cross stitchers. That'd be a fun thing though. I mean, you have all those like interview shows between two ferns or hot ones and things like that. I wonder if it'd be kind of fun to just do like a stitching corner, like a craft corner with interesting people and interview them. I'm not interesting enough to, you know, cause those people to want to do it with me, but I would, I would watch someone who managed to do that. I would watch their channel. Hand is already starting to cramp up over here. So I think that's going to be this hand. Poor thumb. I've been cross stitching for a grand old exciting total of 23 minutes and it's already starting to cramp up. So I think it's just going to come down to like constantly repositioning my hand. Going back out of my comfort zone and trying to, I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. My biggest fear with all this is that I will forget that I'm streaming, and I will forget that you cannot hear the music that I'm listening to. And my fear is that I will just start singing, and then you guys will learn what my music tastes are. And that is just not acceptable. The other thing is like, I don't know if I can talk. I don't know what to do I guess I can just quietly cross stitch. I don't need to be talking the whole time. You know how the contrast, I mean, on the video, the contrast is awesome on both cameras. Like you can very obviously see like the black stitching on the blue. And I guess in real life you can too. It's kind of a nighttime scene, right? Like that's why it's dark blue. So if you look at the pattern here, I can zoom out and you can see it's a little MIT dome with a little MIT police car on top. And some stars. This is just a sampler. So the bigger pattern here, let's go crazy. So you can see it's part of a larger big picture plan for CPW. This is the one that I'm going to be stitching all day for multiple days. But I just want to kind of get a sense of what the different colors are going to look like and what it's going to be like. Which is why I made this little sampler. Isn't it cute? So a few of the things I'm most interested to see is, does this shadow look good? Is this a good purple here? How does this back stitching look around the red letters there? And then this here, these rainbow colors. So if you'll allow me, I have my little case O colors over here. Just want to show you what these are. So these are like super cool, super bright, like satiny. Whoa, the light does not, I mean, you can see it like reflect off of it, but it's just so harsh. But they're a really cool bright color and they should stand out a lot on that. So I'm excited to see what those look like on the sampler. I think I was looking at MIT's branding and I think that those colors, I just assumed that they went RGB, like, or, you know, Roy G. Biv rainbow order, but they're not. So I have to go look up and see like what order those actually go. So, okay. Work my way back across. Clunk. Definitely need to buy a white desk mat. I'm assuming you guys don't want to hear like massive clunks in the audio. I think I'm willing to subject you to, you know, little thunks in the audio, but not giant whacks. A little graph down here. What's this graph do? Create a poll. Oh, that'll be fun. If people ever actually tune in, I could create polls. Oh, the life of a, like, I'm sure there are people out there that would watch this. We did this grand experiment 2 years ago. I guess it would be, yeah, 2 years ago. When MIT CPW had to go remote for the first time because, you know, it's in April and COVID hit in March. And so they had a month to somehow digitize campus preview weekend, which is hard. So I helped contribute by doing a little cross-stitching craft corner live stream thing. And now this year, 2 years later, well, I guess let me not deviate from the story too much. So the big question was like, would anybody ever actually like watch live stream cross-stitching? And as it turns out, yes, people will. I don't know if it's because it's cross-stitching or because it was MIT CPW or if it was just like the dulcet tones of my moderately lisped voice, but I had like a couple hundred people all tune in and just listen to me talk for a few hours, and that was cool. And I did it for about a month, a few times a week for a month, and then came back next year and did it again. And now it's time to do it in person. So I will be live streaming, but I will be live streaming like in real life from MIT's campus this next year. So people can watch from home. They can watch in real life. And it'll be, instead of several times over the course of a month, it will all be compressed into the 3.14 days of CPW. And it'll just be like a constant blur of cross stitching and coffee and burritos, and it's gonna be great. So I'm gonna, let's see. So I've got this one stitch here, and then I'm gonna start working my way up, and then I will have completed the half stitches here of this dome, and then I will need to go back around, but I'm not gonna do that this time here. What I'm gonna do is once I get up here with the half stitches, I'm gonna call it a day, go review the audio and everything, and go about my life here. Okay, there's the half stitch there. All right, there it is. It's not bad looking. Looks like a little dome. I actually really like it. The proportions are great. It's got the little flat spot on the top. I think I'm happy. So I'm gonna stop it. Thank you all.